With Season 2 of WoW Dragonflight, we will be having a new dungeon rotation. In anticipation of that, today we will be covering Freehold. Most likely there's going to be a portal in Valdrakken that's going to teleport you directly. To get to Freehold, go to Orgrimmar, take the portal to Zuldazar, take the flight path to Port of Zuldazar, or you can glide down there, like so. Make sure that you had the pre-quest for Tiragard Sound completed. Teleport to Tiragard Sound. Take the flight path to Castaway Point. If you are Alliance, take the portal to Stormwind, then go to Borealis, talk to the Flight Master, and fly down to Castaway Point. Once you land at Castaway Point, Freehold entrance is within walking distance. The Summoning Stone is directly in front of you, and the portal is slightly to the left. If you did this while leveling, don't go to the right side, okay? Go and do all 3 packs at the same time. This guy over here, the crack shot, he's not gonna come. He's a ranged guy. He's just gonna sit there and fire his musket all day long. Meanwhile, you got the bird throwing down poop at you, and you can see all these mobs are gonna group up, but that mob just doesn't want to come. So make sure you drag these guys on top of him. You will need to watch out for the poop. You will need to watch out for some AoE casts. Some of these mobs, they're gonna enrage like the dogs. They're gonna start chasing you. This guy is gonna cast a brutal backhand. You can do this as some mobs in Halls of Valor and some other dungeons where you can just backpedal away and they're not gonna be able to hit you. However, if any melee DPS or anything like that are next to them, these guys are going to turn, they're going to hit them instead. Aggro this pack of 4 on the right, and they're going to line of sight over here. 2 of these guys will cast some heals. This healing bomb that you want to deal with, they will start shooting at you. At low HP, they will try to run away, so make sure you slow them down. You have 2 options. You either deal with this pack over here, or you deal with this pack over here. This pack contains 3 dogs and 2 enforcers. This pack contains 2 enforcers and only 2 dogs. The dogs are going to enrage, and these guys are going to cast the brutal backhand. It's going to do a lot of damage, and it's going to knock you away. When the first boss lands, he is going to be on the bird for the first about 30% of the fight. Then he's going to dismount. The bird is going to go up in the air. It's going to continue shooting poop at you. When they're mounted, they're going to randomly charge at some location. If there's nobody to charge at, it will charge at you. Just make sure that you get out of the way. And by the way, they can charge out of the map. So the boundaries of the map is actually indicated by this nest type area. So if you actually take the boss outside, it will reset. You can also reset the boss regardless if the boss is mounted or dismounted. One of the abilities that the boss does is he's going to point into a direction and he's going to shoot. You see, he pointed at me and he shot. Typically, the bird doesn't hit you with this poop. I want to bring them close to the edge because I want to keep the mechanics as far away from my team as possible. You can outrange this gunshot, but at the same time, I do not want to reset the boss. The bird will land, as you saw over there, and it's going to charge in one direction. Typically, where a lot of people will fail and they will take a lot of damage, or sometimes they will actually get one shot. He's going to cast the heal, so you want to kick. Once you kick the heal, you can actually right-click it, and it's going to heal you instead. Once that's over, all of the mobs are going to run away, including that pack that you didn't fight down here, or maybe you decided to do so. With the exception of this enforcer. He's going to dismount when you engage him. He's not great to be fought alone, so you can just kite him. You can have one of 3 events happen right here in the middle. You need to do this event in order to trigger the second boss. Valpyra, you need to bribe them. So you want to go... by the way, a single rogue can go do this. But typically, in order to do it, you need to deal with this pack, you need to deal with these mobs, and most likely you will also need to deal with this pack. These rats, they're gonna do some traps on the floor. This duelist is gonna do this dash. Make sure you see the trap just landed on the floor. And this oarsman is going to do that AoE knock-up that you saw. This trap is going to root you, so make sure you don't step in it, and the oarsman can be very easily kicked. You can also grab these neutral mobs. They give you a little bit of count. You will get one of the 3 bosses to fight with you. In this case, because we had the Valpyra, it's going to be Captain Eudora, so you will end up fighting Raoul and Jolly. And there's a bunch of mobs that are part of the bilge rats, like these casters, the Brine Scale, which cast a whole bunch of spells. You most likely want to deal with these neutral mobs. This patrol is very easy to be pulled, so might as well deal with it. And then, of course, you can engage the boss. One of the bosses will do this barrel smash. Make sure that you get out of it. When you have Eudora, she will randomly stun one of them. They will do, this guy will throw his weapon on the floor, this sword. Make sure he catches it. When he throws this weapon down, make sure he catches it. So just kite him slightly. Now you want to go to the next boss. So you have an option to go down through the middle. You will have to deal with the Crusher. You will have to deal with some of these other packs. These mobs don't do a whole lot of things. These Knuckle Dusters, they will have a cast that you will need to interrupt. You will see here in just a second. You see this staring below. You need to kick that. It's an AoE. If you cast something, it will silence you, if I remember correctly. This Crusher will throw all sorts of rocks at you. There we go. Throw the boulder. If you're in it, it's going to do a whole lot of damage. It does this ground shatter around it. Again, you need to get out of it because it does a lot of damage. You don't have to deal with a whole lot of casters over here. Sometimes people will just shroud, use a rogue shroud, distract this mob. This mob has stealth detection. Distract, or just take this route over here and go into the middle and trigger this event because you want to trigger this mob. There's like a minute of RP. Other people, some of the things that I like to do in Legion is I like to go around this area over here and actually pull these mobs with these mobs and these two and just completely avoid this Crusher over here and just sort of fight these mobs. If the tank is the only one that is pulling these mobs, you might have a pretty bad time. So I definitely recommend that you get a little bit of help when pulling them. Jump into the middle, talk to this guy so you start the event. You start the RP. These mobs right here, these neutrals, they're very good for count. So you can pull these. You can actually avoid the Crusher as you're pulling these. But you need somebody to actually help you with pulling them. And by the way, you can group them up with this pack. This is actually very efficient. The first boss that you have to deal with in this area is actually a pig. You have to right-click the pig. It used to land right on these skulls. Then they made it random and the pig just goes all over the place. Once you tag it once, you will get stunned. And you have to do it 5 times. So if all 5 team members do it at the same time, this whole pig thing is going to be over in an instant. He moves pretty slow. He's a turtle after all. So shell bounce. See this shell? Don't get hit by it. Hit in the wall. Go into a different direction. At a certain point on High Tyrannical, you'll have a bunch of these running all over the place. What's interesting about this boss is that it trucks tanks quite a lot. So tanks take quite a lot of damage from this guy. He will throw one of his sharks on the floor, and that shark would start chasing the most immediate person in its proximity. It hits pretty hard, this boss, so you need to rotate cooldowns, active mitigation up at all times. Demon Hunters didn't have a great time back in the day. So, see, you don't have a proximity to the shark, but you can see this circle around the shark, right? So, make sure that you're very close to it, but not enough that it can hit you, and you just kite it. He threw out the next shark. He re-equipped the other one. He did that Sharknado, which you need to get out of the range of the boss. And then eventually he's going to equip them both. You get to fight him with both sharks equipped for a little bit. He's going to throw another one down. You need to keep kiting. This is not typically what the tank is going to do. This is something that one of the ranged players are going to do. But sometimes, this shark could target to one of the melee, or it could be on the tank, depending on where he throws it down. This last part of the dungeon contains a whole bunch of mobs that are casters. These Stormcallers are going to cast a Storm Bolt, or Lightning Bolt. But what's very interesting is that you have these guys called Ravagers that cast Painful Motivation. I want you to see, I'm not touching these mobs. Look at what happens to these mobs. You see how these mobs' HP are going down? So that's why it's crucial for people not to kick painful motivation, because it's free damage that the mobs do to themselves. You will most likely need to pull this patrol. So some people will not play this pack because it's a pretty rough pack, right? You have 2 enforcers, 2 dogs are gonna enrage, you have 2 stormcallers that you need to kick. It's a pretty hard pack. So you can actually go around, you just walk around here, and you won't pull them. And then you pull this guy, the last boss, and you tank him in this area. First you tank him here, and then when you need to rotate, you rotate here. When he spawns the ad is always going to spawn where he is right now. And you can trap it, you can root it, you can do a whole bunch of things. So he's gonna do his mechanics based on different percentages of health. He's gonna summon his cannon, and at first he's always gonna put it on just one person. And you wanna do that, you wanna stagger the movement like that, right? You don't wanna move all over the place. You want the fire to be in small patches. This is when he spawns the ads. And this ad, if he reaches you, look, he's gonna explode, boom. So this is how you deal with the fire. You move just a little bit, just a little bit. When you bring him under 60%, he's gonna cast loaded dice. You tank it in one area, you put fire there, you move to the next area. After he casts loaded dice, instead of having the fire happen on only one person, it will now happen on multiple people. This is a very bad way of dealing with the fire. This is what you will see most bugs dealing with the fire. Here's another strategy of doing this boss. Get him down to about 60%, and then a lot of people would actually pull this pack on top of the boss. However, this pack is very dangerous, and this is where you would see a lot of bugs wipe. If you enjoyed this guide, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share this with somebody that you believe will benefit from the wisdom, and click up on any of the other guides to continue watching.